I believe that Sasha Grantham has what it takes to be Academic Affairs and Liaison Officer next year at the HUS. Sasha is hardworking, he's mature, and he will put your interests first. As a teacher, before he came to Homerton, he has the experience and the know-how to be able to deliver your needs on the stage. I wish him all the very best in his future endeavours.
My name is Sasha, and I'm running for Academic Affairs and Liaison Officer on the HUS next year. Despite having the rapidly receding hairline, beard and dress sense of a middle-aged geography teacher going through a midlife crisis, I am in fact a first-year student studying education, English, drama and the arts here at Homerton. I finished my A-levels in 2018 and took 2 gap years working as a teacher in a secondary school, including during the COVID-19 pandemic, hence the hair. This experience has taught me a lot about academic affairs, mainly being that there's more than one way to work. And I'm passionate about making Homerton as accommodating and inspiring an academic environment as possible. In what's been a very difficult year for the entire Homerton community, our spirit has remained indefeatable, realising the tagline of Cambridge's friendliest college. Now, in some respects, next year might be even more difficult. We've got a group of first years going on second years and second years going on third years who have never had what could be called a proper Cambridge year. On top of this, we've got freshers who have had their A-level experiences significantly disrupted and lost many of the cornerstones of moving from secondary to further education due to the pandemic. I want to ensure that these transitions are as smooth as possible for the entire college community, whilst ensuring that we do not sacrifice the friendliness and laid-back environment we pride ourselves on at Homerton in the quest for academic rigour. I'd like to propose an academic affairs workshop during Freshers' Week to explain some of the jargon and general idiosyncrasies of academic life at Cambridge. I promise I would encourage stronger links between students studying various subjects, including running subject swap events, and ensuring that college families and subject reps are for all year, not just for Christmas. If elected, I promise I'll always have your back as students at Homerton College and work as hard as I can to ensure that our college is an inspiring and motivating environment to live and work in.
Hi, I'm Ines, and I'm here to tell you why I think Tavia Ossan would be the best communication officer for the HUS this coming year. Tavia is approachable, friendly, organised, and an incredible communicator, not just in English, but also in French and Italian. Tavia is a really friendly face around college, and I'm sure freshers and other members of the college community would feel really comfortable coming to speak to her about any suggestions or ideas they have about the best way to communicate events going on around college. But Tavia has some incredible ideas herself, not just the use of the bulletin, but also other social media accounts. I think the fact that she's been secretary for the Women's in Media Society shows that she can really be on top of this sort of task. Tavia is also super organised. The fact that she's doing Cambridge Theatre in the middle of her exams, I think, has shown she can really stick to a deadline. And as a member of the HUS, I'm sure she would pour her heart and soul into other events, such as helping organise Bob's or Freshers' Week, and would be an invaluable member of the HUS exec.
Hey guys, I'm Tavy. I'm a first year MLA here at Homerton, and I would love to be your communications officer for next year. So there are several things I'd like to do for you. First of all, I want to keep you all updated of any Homerton news, events, opportunities, just anything you should know really, through the weekly bulletin and our social media accounts. And I think Facebook has been very, very good in doing that over the past year. So I will, of course, continue to use Facebook a lot, but I would also really like to increase the use of the HUS Instagram account to share any content of or just life around Homerton, any social events, any welfare events, just to really increase our great sense of community even more. And to also do that, I think it'd be a good idea to add a section or two to the bulletin that you can contribute to as well. So one idea would be to add a section highlighting different achievements that Homertonians have done. And it's just a good idea. I think it's a good idea just to celebrate everyone here, and yeah, again, it will just increase our sense of community even more. And other things I'd like to do for you would be to compile a massive document of important college contacts, so that if you need any help, you just go, it's just there. It'll make life a lot easier for everyone, just increase that communication. Also want to create a really nice freshers guide for the incoming freshers, so that they can feel better settled in when they arrive, and I will of course work with the other JCR officers to publicise and promote their events so that you know what's going on. Yeah, and then also I want to create a really nice accessible term card for you with corresponding Facebook events that you click whether you're interested or not, and then you'll be very well informed if there are any changes or whatever. So yeah, that's me. Vote for me for communications. Thank you.
Hey everyone! For those of you who don't know me, my name is Zara, and I couldn't be happier to be proposing Amy Reid as Ents officer at this year's HUS elections. I really couldn't think of anyone better for the job, and have no doubt she'll be incredible at the role for a number of different reasons. She is one of the most caring, compassionate and vibrant people I know, and has a real flair for organising events of all kinds, such as my birthday cocktail celebrations, which was a real highlight for everyone. As someone who's involved in a number of societies, I am sure she possesses everything needed to be the Ents officer Homerton needs. Her manifesto brings new ideas to the table and makes Ents fun and accessible for everyone at home. For example, her focus on welfare, I think, is something that's much needed, and I'm really excited about the idea of hangover recovery breakfasts. Bringing sustainability to Ents is incredibly important too, and the idea of a formal dress swap is super exciting. You'll really be missing out if you don't vote for Amy for Ents. She has the capabilities and ideas to make Ents at home better than ever. So what are you waiting for? Vote Amy!
Hi everyone, I'm Amy. I'm a first year AIMS and MML student, and I'd really like to be your Ents officer next year alongside Jude. We're confident that we can bring Ents back with a bang after a long year and a half, which has of course been really hard on us all, and we've all missed out on key portions of our university experiences. So Jude and I are proposing a refreshers week for the second years alongside the usual freshers week, and we're also really keen to redo halfway hall that the second years missed, and just in general consult regularly with the student body so that we can make everyone feel involved in Homerton life and everyone feel involved in Ents. The return of BOPs will see students voting for themes and collaborating to hopefully make the music a little bit better than the Cambridge average. Something that is central to our vision for Ents is welfare. We want to work really closely with the welfare officers to create a safe and welcoming environment at all the events that we run, with a particular focus on sexual assault and harassment at Homerton. We want people to not feel daunted by the reporting process and to not feel daunted to access support that's available through the college and the university already. We want to create resources for freshers on this topic, so they've got a centralised and accessible place to find information that they need to help them have a safer and more enjoyable Freshers Week. On top of the usual BOPs, cocktail nights and of course Homerton takeovers, we want to make sure that sober events get the love they deserve. Whilst many of us love a big night out, I think it's vital that there are good alternatives available, because I know firsthand the impact heavy drinking can have on mental health. So we're going to host events such as barbecues, board game nights, viewing parties and art classes. So as well as keeping you all safe, happy and healthy, we want to do our bit to lessen the impact that Ents have on the environment and keep it inclusive. So by running low waste events and also running dress swaps before formals, so people don't feel like they have to buy a new dress before every formal event, because obviously Cambridge has a lot of those. So please read our manifestos and find out more. We're really looking forward to next year, and we hope you are too. So if you like the sound of our ideas for Ents next year, we'd really appreciate your vote. Thanks very much for listening.
I'm very excited to be proposing my friend Isabella Tadini for the role of Ents officer in next year's HUS JCR. The role of Ents officer entails more than just being good fun on a night out, although Izzy certainly is that. Her organisational skills are second to none, evident by the fact that she's been chosen to lead International Freshers Week across the whole university next year. The manifesto her and Josh have put forward is as ambitious as it is exciting, whilst remaining environmentally friendly, accessible and inclusive for all, with unique ideas such as the anti-formal designed to make the most of our college surroundings and traditions. Unlike some members of our Homerton community whose idea of entertainment is limited to screaming at football with a pint, Izzy's international background has allowed her to sample nights out from around the globe, meaning that no matter how you have fun, Izzy and Josh will have something up their sleeve for you. Looking forward to a year when things start opening up again, I firmly believe that Isabella Tadini is the right choice to keep our college community entertained.
Hi, I'm Izzy. I'm a first year studying HSPS and I'm running to be one of your Ents officers next year. Let's not beat around the bush. Socializing this year has been really difficult. COVID restrictions have meant that socializing in big groups hasn't really been possible, college hasn't been able to put on events, we haven't really been able to meet people from outside of our households. And all of this means that now more than ever, you deserve Ents officers who are willing, excited, and dedicated to making next year incredible. And I want to make next year incredible. The most important way for me to do this is to make sure that all of our events are accessible, inclusive, and environmentally friendly. I want to collaborate with the liberation officers, the welfare officers, Services in Green, Target and Access, and other societies in Homerton to make sure that I'm meeting the needs, interests, and wants of everyone in Homerton, not just the people who go out, not just the people who drink. This means having a wide variety of events, from big scale to small scale events, as well as having things during the day as opposed to just things at night. I also really think it's important to make sure that everyone in Homerton feels included in our events. And so I want to make sure that we're doing everything we possibly can to welcome and invite everyone who wants to join in. Everyone deserves to find a place in the social scene at Homerton, and that's a really big part of my campaign. I also want you to be involved in planning these events. That means our event rep scheme, which will have you promoting our events, selling club tickets in exchange for perks and discounts, including our Ents merch, which is coming next year. We want to have t-shirts, wristbands, maybe even some stickers, because our events will be so good you'll want to show them off. Other things that we have coming up include an anti-formal, gowns, the griff, and no formal clothes allowed. I really want next year to be something worth remembering. As we come out of lockdown, it's really important to me that we continue to strengthen our community and work together to make next year really as fun as possible. Ents means making next year finally fun. And Ents means voting Izzy and Josh.
If I were to compare Josh to one famous figure, the first person that comes to mind is Mother Teresa at home. Now, anyone could come to a gathering or a motive or an event empty-handed, just with vibes. However, it takes a true playmaker, a maestro, a tactician to organize these events. And Josh has the power to herd cats by providing the best tuna. Josh could feed the 5,000 motive-hungry Homertonians with a mere 2 fish fingers and a small loaf of the Ents bread. I am so confident in his ability to cater to every single Homertonian, drinker or non-drinker, dancer or rhythmically challenged, traveller or travailleur, that I decided against running in fear of this man's gravitas. I say vote for Josh next year if you want to see innovation, creation, elevation, essentially an Ents officer for everyone.
Hey, I'm Josh, and I'm a first year, so I'm not sure what Homerton is normally like, but I am sure that this year has not been normal. It's been hard to find connections between people. It's been hard to find things we enjoy doing. It's been hard to have fun, let's be honest. Next year, it's not going to happen. Next year is going to be really fun. And that's because I'm going to be your Ents officer. Ents is not about getting drunk every night of the week. It can be, if that's your thing. But Ents, for me, is about everyone coming together. Everybody having fun. That means people who don't normally drink. That means people who don't normally go out. People who don't normally feel safe. People who don't normally feel included. We're going to make sure that Ents are safe, inclusive, and fun for everyone. That does mean boycotting certain racist nightclubs, yeah. It also means we've got to look out for the planet a little bit more. You know just as much as I do, sometimes we get a little bit too tipsy, we start throwing stuff around, we don't clear it up. That's not going to run in my Ents. We're going to make sure that Ents are sustainable by working with the venues and all different organisers. We're going to make sure that they're inclusive by working with our great Homerton societies, by working with our welfare officers, by working with our Target and Access officers. We're going to make sure that there's a wide variety of events. It's not just going to be bops and formals, although bops, we've got to bring them back, surely. It also means having an event rep scheme for certain nightclub nights. So maybe you get an event rep hat or an event rep t-shirt. We're going to have Ents merch. Not any rubbish merch. We're going to have some really nice looking stuff, hopefully. We're going to have some frequent intercollegiate events. We're going to have pub crawls, if that's your thing. We're going to have international showcases, so music showcases, food fairs in Homerton. We're going to have anti-formals. Izzy's come up with this great idea where we have griff, gowns, but no fancy clothes. We're going to have student DJ nights. Basically, what I'm trying to say is if you want to have fun, anybody in Homerton coming together as a cohesive whole, if you want to have fun, vote me and Izzy for Ents.
When Jude asked me to nominate him, there was no hesitation in my answer, yes, partly because I can't say no to my college husband, but mainly because I genuinely cannot think of a better person for the Ents officer. Jude is so outgoing, fun, and honestly the life of any event. He brings something unique to everything and has made my time at Homerton so memorable. They say don't get college engaged in Michaelmas, but I knew that I would not meet a more fun and supportive guy than Jude. I know he will give his all to this role, and his dedication to ensuring that everybody has a good time makes him the best candidate. His manifesto shows the many ways Jude can and will make sure that all Homerton students have a good time in an inclusive and sustainable way. For example, student involvement in choosing BOPS themes so that everyone at Homerton can participate in Ents. No one else is as committed to making sure that all students have a fun time, so make sure that you're voting for Jude this Monday for Ents officer.
Hi guys, I'm Jude, a first year history and French student here at Homerton, and I'm running to be your Ents officer because after this year especially, I think Ents is going to be about so much more than just running fun and memorable events for us students here at Homerton. It's going to be about rebuilding Homerton's own and unique sense of community spirit that makes us such a vibrant college within Cambridge University. One of my priorities as Ents officer will therefore be to bring back the smaller scale events for the communities at Homerton that need to feel our warm sense of inclusivity the most. I want to work with our welfare and our LGBTQ+, BME, disabilities, class act and international officers to run close-knit and inclusive events like buttery brunches or cocktail nights for LGBTQ+, BME, class act, disabled and international students to help rebuild these networks and communities that have been so hard to build this year because of a pandemic. I also want to help create a wider sense of community and student involvement at Homerton by bringing back events such as BOPS as fortnightly events with student voted themes so that everybody can get involved with the process of organising. And I want to create a safe Ents culture at Homerton by supporting wider university initiatives such as the SU's Cambridge for Consent campaign and the ACS's boycott of vinyl. The wider Cambridge community is also something I want to revitalise as Ents officer, and I want to help create closer links with students from other colleges by hosting a Refreshers Week for this year's freshers after we didn't get the proper freshers experience and to help us meet students from other colleges. So this year I hope you can vote for me to be your Ents officer because it would be my honour.
Hi, I'm nominating Helena Kruder for Services and Green Officer this year on the HUS. I believe she'd be perfect for the role as she is very passionate about the environment and shows a genuine concern for how things are done at Homerton. For instance, together we co-ran Homerton's Green Week this year in Easter term, in which Helena played a crucial role in organising and running many events, alongside liaising with many members of the wider college community in order to ensure that these events could happen. Also, Helena plays a very active role in our allotment, which we managed to revive this year, and without her, I'm sure nothing would be growing. Through personal conversations with Helena, I know she is very keen to boost student engagement with green issues around college, and I know that any changes that she wants to put forward, she'll make sure that students genuinely want to make those changes before she does anything.
Hi everyone, I'm Helena and I'm campaigning to be your Services and Green Officer. Over the past year, I became more and more involved in environmental action taking, and I also organised Green Week for Homerton, which took place at the beginning of Lent term. Thanks to this, I became a member of the Homerton Environmental Society, and the process taught me to take initiative, to bring a team together, to reach out to stakeholders and run online events. I am highly motivated to push for green policies within college, as well as to create a greater sense of a student hub where students could bring forward their ideas for action taking at Homerton. I set out to do this by advertising the Homerton Environmental Society more and to make our allotment more popular. Also, on the green side of things, I am planning to arrange more sustainability events and another Green Week next year. My priority lies in advocating sustainability whilst closely taking students' opinions into account. Generally, I'm a good communicator and I'm always open to meet new people. During my first year here at uni, I really enjoyed chatting to members of staff, and I feel that often that all too often their work is underrated, although it contributes highly to our well-being here in college. Having connected to them both on a more personal level and through Green Week planning, I think that I'm a suitable and reliable communicator between students and staff. I would set out to foster a respectful and appreciated relationship between the two. If I were to take on the role as Green and Services Officer, I would be 100% devoted, and I'd feel honoured to represent you in the House. Thank you ever so much for listening, and I'd appreciate your vote.
Hi, my name's Cara, and I'm here to tell you in 1 minute why Inez should be Target and Access Officer. Number one, Inez really understands what it means to have very few opportunities. Her school literally was covered in barbed wire, and so she understands what it is to go to a school which is basically like Broadmoor. Number two, Inez is so obsessed with the idea of Target and Access. She really wants to help fix some kind of inequality, and she will not stop talking about it. I need someone to share my burden, so please help me out. Number three, Inez is one of the nicest people I've ever met. That is not a hyperbole. She is that glorious, wonderful woman in the nightclub toilet that fixes your entire life for an evening. She is amazing. Number four, eye candy. Thanks.
Homerton has got potential. It's got my fondest memories, my closest friends, even the West House carpet. It's a dream come true, but it's a dream that's not available to the majority of students. I'm Inez. If you're a first year, you know me as Spanish Inez, not to be mistaken with French Inez on one of the lower floors. I'm running for Target and Access, a role that is hopefully 1 year closer to not having to exist. My qualifications for this, other than a general anger towards the system, is that I've been Target and Access Co-op this year, working alongside the HUS to increase Homerton's social media presence, as well as coordinate and run the Homerton branch of the wider university's shadowing scheme. I want to contribute to a collegiate environment that champions intersectionality and diversity beyond just a buzzword. I'm ready to fight for your space to exist within this wider university, to work alongside liberation officers to ensure intersectionality is at the forefront, to push for clear dialogues surrounding university costs and funding options available to students. I'm ready to use my experience as a co-op to continue to create events that break down the ivory towers that we now call home. I want to liaise with Homerton changemakers to ensure that targeted career support and mentoring is provided to shatter the glass ceiling that prevents us from succeeding once we graduate. I'm ready to fight for our space to exist. Yes, I've got experience, but I've also got lived experience. You know, I went to a school that was in special measures for 6 years. I'm being queer, disabled, and a first-gen immigrant woman. I know what it's like to not have a smooth transition to Cambridge and to walk through the walls and feel like I don't belong. I understand. Now, I need to get back to my degree. But remember when voting this Friday to vote Inez for Target and Access, for access beyond matriculation.
Hi, I'm Alex, and I'm proposing for Rayhanisa Haji for Target and Access Officer. When I first met Rayhanisa, she struck me as being very friendly, energetic, and engaging. Over the past year, I've come to see just how passionate and determined she is to make a difference in all that she does. Rayhanisa has had experience with Target and Access already, and on both sides. She's very sociable and is unafraid to make her voice heard loud and clear. She has great people skills, unlike me, and really enjoys working with other people. I would want our Target and Access Officer to genuinely care about our prospective and current students, and I really think Rayhanisa is that person. I also believe she will be very happy to put lots of time and effort into carrying out her duties to the fullest and making our college a better place. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Rayhanisa and I'm running for Target and Access Officer for next year. So a little bit about myself first. I'm from East London in Hackney, and I am one of the very few people in my school to have ever made it to Oxbridge. And because of that, my journey to applying to Cambridge has heavily depended on the Target and Access schemes that were provided. And because of that, I would want the prospective students to have the same opportunities that I had. And I've been working on that already. So I've been working with Paul Elliott, the admissions tutor, and I've also been mentoring multiple prospective students across multiple platforms. However, these schemes have been happening outside of the HUS, which I think should change. The HUS should be involved in anything to do with target and access. In terms of current students, did you know that 85% of jobs are given through networking? And if you're from a disadvantaged background, a bit like myself, then you don't have that extensive network already. I propose to break down that barrier by providing networking opportunities so that you can find work experience and jobs. I am really passionate about this cause, and I already plan to do a lot of work around target and access. And if you want someone that knows what they're doing, that is passionate, and that promises to deliver, then you should vote for me. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Kira Fleming, and I'm here to promote Laura Stevens for Welfare Officer. Laura is a friendly and bubbly person, and since meeting her in Michaelmas, she has shown many times to consider the opinions and thoughts of others. For example, when I told her how uncomfortable I felt about taking the train alone to meet my boyfriend in London, Laura took it upon herself to escort me there and back by taking the train with me both times. I thought that was very compassionate and went above and beyond even a friend. Laura could easily commit to this role because already this term she has shown great time management skills by learning how to row during the exam season and even racing in the regatta. I would advise you to read Laura's manifesto, especially the part about organising and promoting events in advance. I think this is really integral to bring about a normal post-COVID party scene. Thank you.
My name's Laura Stevens. I'm a first year history and Spanish student, and I'm running to be one of your welfare officers next year. For me, welfare embodies the best of the student spirit at Homerton. I don't think I will ever forget receiving a welfare package during the depths of the dreaded lockdown in Westhouse, and the amount of joy that it brought me in a really difficult time. I think that really brought home the value of welfare and the influence that it can have on the student experience. I've also worked as a welfare co-op this year. I've had a really great time working under the welfare officers, and so I think I have the enthusiasm, the experience and the drive to carry out this role well. As far as my policies, I have 4 main aims I want to stick to. The first is continuing the fantastic work of the current welfare officers who have had to do most of their job online this year. So that includes maintaining regular social media posts, maintaining the welfare wisdom posts, and also making sure that if there were ever to be another isolation or lockdown, hopefully not, that students receive the extra support that they need. Secondly, I want to bring back our regular in-person events. I think it's really important that we have a regular schedule of welfare events advertised really early so that as many people as possible can come, and that welfare maintains a really prominent presence in Homerton life. Thirdly, I think it's really important that we increase awareness of the resources that Homerton has to offer its students in terms of welfare. And I want to do this all year round, but especially at really important points in the Homerton calendar, such as Freshers Week, Week 5 and exam term, and also in the international calendar on key days like World Suicide Prevention Day. And finally, I'd just like to offer a sympathetic ear and a friendly face that you can come and talk to with any of your issues without judgment. Thank you so much for listening to me. Take care. Bye.
I'm Katie, and I'm so excited to be proposing Ria for the role of welfare officer next year. Mental health and well-being are 2 things Ria is extremely passionate about. She always looks out for others, often sensing that something is wrong without being told, and reaching out with a kind message or an offer of support. Her friendly, understanding attitude makes her so approachable, and she listens carefully whenever somebody comes to her, giving balanced and sensitive advice in return. She has a lot of experience working on committees and thrives in roles which help others, representing the charities MWA and Solidarity in the college. I have been lucky enough to work with her this term for the Cambridge Union, and I know that she would be incredible in this role. She is so hardworking and dedicated that she has even been taking on the work of others whose commitments have piled up too high, and she helps so patiently whenever somebody has questions. I joined later than she did, and she always took the time to walk me through any problems I had. I am sure if you see the amazing ideas in her manifesto that you will agree she has all the dedication and enthusiasm to create a community environment in which everybody has space to talk, have fun and feel at home.
Hi, I'm Ria and I'm running for the position of Welfare Officer on the HUS this year because I've loved my time at Homerton so far. I felt really welcomed and I want to make sure all freshers and the current students feel the same way. And I know it's been a really isolating year and a half for many students, and the welfare team's been great in supporting us and through some difficult times of isolation and things like that. And I want to continue this and also try and rebuild a sense of community that we might have lost, and that sense of community that Homerton is so famous for. So there's a couple of ways I want to do this. One, I want to have a really big focus on communication, and it's so simple, but just much more frequent posting on social media, polls, engagement, interaction, things like daily takeovers to sort of demystify the normal Cambridge lifestyle. And then also another thing that I'd like to do is have a big focus on events. So a lot of collaboration with Ents, especially in some great non-drinking events such as yoga, movie nights, and board game nights, and even some craft and wine nights I think would be really fun. And then also a lot of friendship mixes, so to try and make up for lost time really, and reintroduce the college community, encourage involvement in sports and societies. And then another thing that's really big for me is to have a lot of support to ease back into university social life. So especially a lot of us will not have had any experiences clubbing because of the pandemic, so I'd like to spread a lot of safety and information on how to look after yourself when drinking, and really supporting people back into social life, and having hangover breakfast after a big night out to combat anxiety, which is something I think a lot of us suffer from. And then the final thing that I'd like to do is have a lot of focus on mental health and transparency. So I'd really like to support an expansion of the counselling system so that there's provision for all students at all points in term. And then also I'd like to publicise the harassment and discrimination systems, because we do have some great provisions in place with our fabulous contacts Georgie and Erin. So I want to make sure that students are aware of their avenues and where they can go to look for help. And then I'd want to finally run the freshers workshops in collaboration with professionals to ensure there's enough engagement and interaction with the subject material on an ongoing basis. So yeah, I haven't been able to say it all, and there's a lot more in my manifesto, but I hope that shows you that I do have a good vision for welfare on the HUS, and that I'd be a good person to vote for. So thank you.
Hi, my name's Jules and I'm proposing Robin Webber for Welfare Officer. One reason that I think Robin would be really good as Welfare Officer is he has previous experience of being on the HUS as LGBT officer. So not only does that mean he has general experience of the HUS and how it works, which is extremely important for welfare as there are a lot of annoying rules and regulations that come along with that role, but specifically as LGBT officer, he has experiences of providing emotional support to slightly vulnerable students, and also in fostering and creating safe and open spaces where people feel accepted, which I think is really important as a welfare officer and good for the community inside the college. Robin would also be great as welfare officer because he has a lot of personal experience, as he mentioned in his manifesto, of using welfare services within college, and so is therefore able to relate to students who are going through this, provide advice from his own experiences, and also a point of legitimate critique as someone who has used those services. So vote Robin for welfare.
Hi, I'm Robin. I'm a third year MMLer and I'm running to be your welfare officer this year. I've been a part of the Homerton community for 4 years now, and I've found the welfare officers to be a great source of support and stability, and I hope to offer others the same service going into my final year. As someone who struggled with anxiety and depression and who intermitted in second year, I'm very familiar with the sources of support within college and how important these can be to help you settle in, whether that's for the first time or after a break from college. I also know the steps that lead to intermission and can help students navigate the process and ask for help early on before intermission is necessary. I've been an LGBT officer in the past, and I'm familiar with the HUS and know the importance of confidentiality and support in sensitive matters, as I've had students come to me in the past to provide a listening ear for them. I've seen the effort put in by past and present welfare officers to improve our quality of life in Homerton, and I hope to continue this by running events like Art and Chill, which can be a welcome source of calm in an otherwise hectic term. I'd also like to make sure that others feel comfortable approaching the welfare officers, so I would continue the Sunday welfare drop-ins to give a weekly opportunity for support without the students having to reach out for help themselves, and to make sure the welfare officers are familiar faces to students. As a trans person, LGBT issues are close to my heart, so I would like to establish the Gender Expression Fund for trans and gender non-conforming students, which is something I proposed when I was an LGBT officer. I would also like to make sure that all of the liberation officers feel supported in their events and generally feel heard in the HUS. And I'd make sure to collaborate with them regularly to ensure that welfare events are accessible and comfortable environments for everyone. Weekly Welfare Wisdom was an initiative established during my time in the HUS, and I found it a really unique and useful resource to find out how differently people deal with stress. As well as continuing with this, I'd like to open up the Instagram page for submissions from students to offer their own advice, so that the Homerton community as a whole is a supportive environment. Thank you for your time, and I hope you'll consider voting for me for welfare.
I'm proposing for Fiola because she's just a really kind, generous, welcoming person, and that was made evident right from the beginning of the year. But during Lent in particular, when I was one of the only people in college and she was there as well, it was her presence that really helped me get through that. Whether it was cycling or having brunch, she was a really outgoing, friendly, communicative person, and I think that also is shown in her manifesto with her ideas such as walks through the orchard, or even a sports day perhaps, and as well as her ideas for inclusivity. I think that demonstrates someone who is really ambitious about building a sense of community, and that was why I think she'd be a great welfare officer at Homerton College.
Hi, my name's Fiola Odra and I'm running to be a welfare officer. The first question I'd like to address is why I want to be welfare officer. I think that my experience of Homerton in the pandemic has really been shaped by the welfare team. The welfare team can have a real impact on how you feel as a fresher, especially because you know nothing, you know no one, you're in a new environment. And I really felt the welfare team's impact recently in my household second isolation, which was really unexpected. They were like the first people to email us kind words, provide us with crafts and snacks to keep us like entertained during the isolation. And it was just so warming to know that they were thinking of us. And I want to be able to provide everyone in Homerton with that kind of support and that feeling that they always have someone to turn to. And also I'd like to address why am I personally suitable for the role. I think that the welfare role needs for you to be passionate and approachable. And I'm personally pretty passionate about issues of mental health, and I hope that I'm approachable. I also have some really fun new initiatives planned for when we transition into a post-pandemic life. Like, I was thinking of a sports day, but also I think it's important to maintain the welfare team's online presence through social media and the Instagram page, and being really interactive, because I think the pandemic has shown that social media is like here to stay. And I would continually stress for the inclusion of Homerton's marginalised groups. You're working with liberation officers and making sure that specific resources are available to these groups. And I'd really make sure to keep everyone informed on where and how to access help, because I think the knowledge as well as communication is like one of the most important things about welfare.